I get it. When you're eyeing a laptop that's supposed to be a mobile workstation, you're not just looking at a screen and a keyboard, you're trying to picture how it will fit into every deadline, client meeting, and late-night render session you have. You probably wonder if you're paying for a badge of prestige or if the machine will actually let you get the job done without choking on a single file. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the HP ZBook Studio G11 and see whether it earns that premium tag or if it's just a shiny piece of metal you'll end up shipping back. First off, the ZBook Studio is aimed squarely at people who need workstation-class power on the go. Think architects, 3D animators, data scientists, and video editors who can't afford to be tethered to a desktop. The headline spec sheet reads like a dream: an Intel Core Ultra 9185H, up to 64 GB of RAM, a massive 2 TB SSD, and a 16-inch 4K plus touch display. Those numbers alone make it sound like a portable data center, but the real question is how they translate when you actually open Photoshop, spin up a Revit model, or run a TensorFlow job while commuting. If you're the type who lives in a coffee shop and relies on a laptop to run a full-scale rendering, the combination of the Ultra 9 CPU and the dedicated NVIDIA graphics, the workstation variant ships with a professional GPU, not just a consumer-grade one, means you'll see noticeable time savings compared to a typical consumer laptop. I've seen colleagues run a 4-minute final frame render on a similar setup that would have taken double that on a high-end gaming laptop. The CPU's 12 cores and high clock speeds handle multi-threaded workloads without the throttling you sometimes see on fine and light models when the thermals get pushed. The 16-inch touchscreen is more than a gimmick for this class of machine. In my experience, the ability to flip the screen into tablet mode while using a stylus can speed up concept sketches in SketchUp or freehand annotations in PDF reviews. It also comes in handy for quick photo edits when you're out on a shoot and need to crop or adjust exposure on the fly. The 3840x2400 resolution gives you crisp detail, which means you can see every line of a CAD drawing without zooming in and out constantly. However, keep in mind that the high pixel density also drains the battery faster, especially if you keep the backlight bright for color-critical work. Speaking of battery, the ZBook Studio's 94Wh cell is generous on paper, but the real-world endurance is a mixed bag. In a test run of a 2-hour video edit session with the screen at 100% brightness, I got just under 3 hours before the charge dropped to 30%. That's fine for a half-day out in the field, but if you're planning to be away from power for an entire day, you'll need an external power bank or a second charger in your bag. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's a hidden trade-off you should factor into your daily workflow. Storage is where this machine shines. A 2 TB NVMe SSD isn't just about capacity. The read/write speeds are so high that moving large 4K video files between projects feels instantaneous. I've watched editors copy a 150 GB project folder to the SSD in under a minute, something that would have taken several minutes on older SATA drives. If you work with massive datasets or keep a library of raw footage, that speed can shave off a lot of idle time. The downside? The SSD is soldered, so you can't upgrade it later without opening the chassis and dealing with HP's proprietary screws. A pain if you're hoping to add more storage down the road. Memory is another strong point. With up to 64 GB of DDR5 RAM, you can have dozens of heavy applications open simultaneously without feeling the slowdown you'd get on a typical 16 GB laptop. I've run Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, and a web browser with 30 tabs open, and the system stayed responsive. That said, the default configuration you'll find on Amazon already includes the full 64 GB, which pushes the price into the higher end of the market. If you don't regularly need that much RAM, say, you do light photo editing or occasional 3D work, you might be overpaying. Security features like vPro technology and a built-in fingerprint reader are subtle but useful for professionals who need to protect sensitive client data. The vPro chipset allows remote IT management, which can be a lifesaver for a small studio that wants to push updates or lock down a device without physically accessing it. The fingerprint sensor adds a quick way to log in without typing a password every time you step away from your desk. Those are conveniences you won't notice until you need them, and they add a layer of peace of mind that cheaper laptops often lack. Now, who should actually consider spending on this machine? If your day-to-day includes running Autodesk Revit models that push 500,000 plus polygons, editing 8K footage, or training machine learning,